Bitcoin is right now doing something slightly unexpected. As we see altcoins, as well as the stock market, slip and slide to the downside, are we on the verge of another massive breakout? Or are we about to witness the biggest fake out, middle-aged mommy makeout of all time? So if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe. And without any further ado, let's jump into the price of Bitcoin, where we see the price of Bitcoin actually initiating in a very interesting structure. Again, at this very second, just like yesterday, which we weren't able to put in a new daily close high, but we're right now, again, in that position to where it looks like it wants to have another go at it. And are altcoins doing well right now amidst this? Actually, altcoins are down a little bit, and a lot of the liquidity and a lot of the price action seems to be focused very much on Bitcoin right now. So I want to talk about that specifically. But over the last 12 or so hours, I've initiated a couple more long positions on some of these altcoins because I think some of these entries are pretty good, and I have some limit orders a little bit lower, meaning if the alts drop, I'm going to buy more of these altcoins. I'm going to long more of them. But if you're interested in trading, you can sign up with BITUNIX or BITUNIX below using the link. And without any further ado, I think this one represents a really good opportunity for altcoins in this market, because I think altcoins are on the verge of going completely banana mode. I think that we might have, and this is, we only have about half the month left of the year. There's only half of a month left. Is Bitcoin going to initiate a December surprise, a massive pump to the upside? And altcoins, which very clearly, as we've talked about, altcoins are in a very bullish position to where the biggest altcoin breakout of this entire cycle is about to happen, in my opinion. But will Bitcoin actually pump first? And will a lot of liquidity and gains go into Bitcoin first? Because it doesn't look like Bitcoin is losing much steam here, as you can see. So before we continue with that, let's take a look at a few fundamental things here. Van Eck, $118 billion Van Eck prediction of about $180,000 per Bitcoin is coming in 2025, and they're predicting that the US will embrace a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's very bullish. I think the price will go much higher if we do get the Bitcoin strategic reserve, which it sounds very much like we will. We're also seeing that Japan is considering creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Satoshi Hamada, his name's Satoshi, which is crazy, pretty cool, just proposed the concept, calling Bitcoin a potential national asset. Will we see the harsh crypto laws in Japan loosen towards crypto soon? It's possible. I think it's cool. I mean, this guy's name is Satoshi, just similar to, the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. But we're also seeing Financial Times saying Michael Saylor's transformation of MicroStrategy is one of the most extraordinary corporate pivots in history by becoming the world's largest corporate owner of Bitcoin. I believe they hold over like 200,000 Bitcoin, about 2% of the Bitcoin, I believe, a very big amount. And MicroStrategy has obviously been doing extremely well because of that. We put in the highs at about, where was the highs? It was about a little over 500 back on November 21st. So it's been a couple weeks since MicroStrategy's been at those all-time highs. But as we talked about in a video yesterday, actually, if Bitcoin reaches 200,000 or 300,000 in this cycle, MicroStrategy's stock price is going to explode into the thousands of dollars per share, which is, if we look at a price tag right now of MicroStrategy at about $400, that's a lot of gains left to go in a stock. So that's one promising thing, I think. And I think MicroStrategy is going to play a big role in this bull market period. It already has, but I'm just excited to see as well what MicroStrategy is able to do during this bull market. But really, we see the stock market, the SPX is down today, the NASDAQ as well. The stock in general seems to, and the Dow Jones, stock market in general seems to be having a little bit of a, this is the last day of trading week, a little bit of a downward move. We're also seeing that, as you can see here, the DXY is continuing to have this little bounce. I think it's a dead cat bounce personally. I think that it's about to roll over, in my opinion, the DXY. And I think that we're about to initiate, a longer term trend, downtrend, especially if we get another, continued rate cuts, which there's like a 90% chance we will, according to the current market. So with the stock market being down, the US dollar, well, it actually just ticked red as I was talking. But yeah, I mean, basically it's pretty much neutral. But as those two things are happening, Bitcoin, why does it look so much better than everything else? As you can see right here at this current moment, sure, there are some altcoins up, but for the majority of the market, you see mostly red. It's mostly red in the market. So what's actually happening? And I mean, I want to talk about specifically what we see right now for the price of Bitcoin is that, as I was just talking about, we're right at the top of, I mean, if we get a close where we are right now, it would be the highest daily close Bitcoin has ever gotten. You can see yesterday, again, we pushed all the way up to about 100 and almost 103,000, but it got rejected and ended up closing at about pretty much at exactly 100,000. And it's kind of just been a battle for the last few days to put in a daily close higher than the daily close that we set pretty much on December 8th at about 101,000. Bitcoin has been having trouble closing above these daily candles above 101,000. But if we look, you can see the momentum actually, even on the daily chart. We've been in kind of a more of a pullback zone since November 26th, or at least a cooling off period. You can see with the MACD, the RSI, actually the RSI is right now on the verge of having a bullish cross, meaning that maybe even this short-term momentum might start picking back up as Bitcoin potentially continues to run here, which I think is a very likely scenario considering over the last couple of days, we came down multiple times below the 21-day moving average, but we have held it. We've defended right at the 21-day, which currently the 21-day sits at about 97,000 US dollars. Really, if you kind of zoom out, and you look at what Bitcoin's been doing on a weekly chart, pretty much after breaking $100,000, it's trying to cement that as support, just like it was doing with 90,000 US dollars right here on our initial back test back on November 26th. But again, all of this momentum is still strong. If we get a daily close below the 21-day moving average at 97, then I personally think in the short term, we could initiate a Bitcoin pullback. But at this moment, there are no signals yet. I mean, so far, it's still showing strength. And it's absolutely sucking some of the juice out of the rest of the market, meaning a lot of these top alts, some of them are up 1% or 2%, but for the most part, they're either neutral on the day or, I mean, for the most part, they're down a little bit, not setting new all-time highs. And that's just because right now, I think Bitcoin potentially is trying to, it looks like Bitcoin wants to make a move almost. And something really, a really good confirmation of that would be as if Bitcoin gets its highest daily close ever, which, as I keep saying, if we close where we're at the time of recording this video, significantly above 101,000 US dollars, then that would be the highest daily close Bitcoin has ever gotten. So far, on the daily or even the weekly, there is no indication really that Bitcoin is in store for a major pullback. In fact, over just the last week, we have seen numerous times where the price did initiate these intraday massive, quote unquote, like crashes, where it did honestly go down quickly, and it looked like a lot of long positions that gotten liquidated. In fact, a lot of long positions did get liquidated, but immediately the price like bounced back up well before the daily close. One of the biggest things with technical analysis is if you see like a big dump and then we get to some sort of temporary bottom and then we try to bounce and you just see that bounce fail over and over again, that's an indication that there's no strength and we're going to keep going lower. But if we have a pump and then we have a big dump and that dump immediately gets bought up, that's an indication that this market is much stronger, much more bullish. And so far, we have been getting the latter. We have been getting these dips get bought up extremely quickly. And as Bitcoin sits above $100,000 for the first time in history, it's only been a couple of days. So like zoom out, you can't stare at the chart every day, but like actually zoom out and look at it almost on a week by week basis. And the best way to do that is by looking at the weekly chart. It was just a week or two ago that we broke 100,000 for the first time ever. So if we chill out here for a little bit, which so far that's what we've been doing, that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, that's a totally normal thing. When Bitcoin broke 10,000, something similar happened. When it broke 1,000, something similar happened. It's a normal thing to have happen. But especially as Bitcoin dominance, as you see here, looks like it's falling off of a cliff. This is a 2-week chart. If we switch to a 1-week chart, you can see we actually have a bounce in here. I'm not saying that we're going to break above this and go up to 60,000, but I mean, hey, if we actually have a monster run, that is in play, but I don't think that's the base case for right now in the short term. But really, Bitcoin is putting up a little bit of a fight right now, whereas I think that we're on the verge of a massive alt season, but I think Bitcoin is just not necessarily, I think that the market might actually have Bitcoin continue to pump here first. I mean, I can paint you a possible scenario. Maybe Bitcoin trades where it's at, has a really strong bounce up to 110,000 US dollars, and maybe ranges between 110 to 100,000 for even a couple of weeks as altcoin season just rages on, or just kicks, like really starts. That's one likely scenario I could see happening, considering 100,000 is so important that having a little bit of wiggle room, meaning trading above 110,000 or around 110,000, and then maybe having fluctuations between 110 and 100, provides a little more security to market as opposed to right now where we're just like barely hanging on to 100,000. Meaning some altcoin speculators and the altcoin market in general might feel more comfortable completely erupting, which these charts are showing us. It might feel more comfortable doing that once Bitcoin has definitively gotten significantly above 100,000. Whereas right now we're about $1,000 above 100,000. A solid 10 or even 15,000 or $20,000 above 100,000, I think would provide a lot more confidence and risk on attitudes towards altcoin speculation than the current situation. I think that would be more favorable for altcoins than this current Bitcoin situation. But as I just pointed out, I mean, on the shorter term and even the weekly, everything is still showing that Bitcoin, there's nothing really showing me that Bitcoin is completely out of juice right now and it's just going to keep trading sideways. It is a possibility we actually trade at sideways at 100,000 until the end of this year, before the new U.S. administration takes office, which I personally think once, let's say some of these pro-crypto policies start getting implemented, I think the price is going way higher. But until that time, I'm taking every opportunity currently to, the money that I make consistently goes into this market. I'm consistently, I'm not even joking when I say quite literally, when I make money, quite literally 90, I would even say basically on a day-to-day basis, 100% of that money goes right back into the crypto market, meaning I invest immediately. So on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. So if we get a bigger altcoin pullback here, I'm going mega long on altcoins, as I showed my trades that I'm, opening up more and more altcoin trades, because I think altcoins are going to do very well very soon. However, I have a lot of my trades not even open yet. They're conditional. I have limit orders placed lower so that if the altcoins go down, those orders will trigger. I will open up the long positions at those lower prices, and I'll just overall have a better entry into these altcoin positions, which I think right now, in my opinion, is the move. That's what I think makes the most sense right now. Even as I just said, I think Bitcoin potentially is on the verge of really trying to cement a significant higher high daily close above 100,000, higher than we've ever seen. And if you're interested in trading, sign up with Femex or BITUNIX below. Without any further ado, it's for me.